In the last video of this road trip in Japan series, we left off saying goodbye to Mount Fuji, the most average, boring looking mountain in the world. The trip had just started though, and the goal of day 2 was to head west and reach Kyoto. But we did stay for a cheeky little stop in Shizuoka city first. We only really stayed for lunch though, at Rokomani, I think? Rokomani? This wonderfully decorated little food place, serving wonderful veggie meals. I love this place. It gets a solid 4 out of 5 fishes, mainly because of the little details around the restaurant, and for them being kind and letting me film, you know. Other than that though, we didn't really do that much in Shizuoka city. There was this nice looking street, I suppose, and it's a bit crazy, but apparently Peter Stormare, the Swedish actor, was supposedly born somewhere around this neighborhood. Anyway, back on the road to the old capital of Japan we went. Can you notice how smooth this footage is, by the way? For some reason I only started using my gimbal here and not before. And I don't know about you, but I think this looks pretty good. Pretty smooth. Thanks to the Patreons who helped me buy this. On the way, as it was getting dark, we passed by an amusement park with a roller coaster my sister thought looked like glass noodles. And our spirits were very high. I wish I could play you the music we listened to without getting the video taken down, but we were playing some real bangers from the late 90s, early 2000s, getting into the traditional Kyoto vibe with some Spice Girls, you know. And there we are, we made it. That was it. Day 2 of the trip was done. Here we are in Kyoto. Now, I am not a rich man by any standard, really, but this just happens when you're traveling with Heidi. We stayed at a very fancy central hotel overlooking Nijo Castle. It was close to these very pretty neighborhoods with adorable little canals, clearly very popular with tourists, because my goodness, we were not the only people here. We did have the most fun though. I remember this from last time I visited Kyoto, that there were people dressed in kimonos all over this old area, and seemingly even more people taking pictures of the people in kimonos. Sometimes you couldn't see the cameraman though, and it looked a bit silly, just a couple posing, holding hands for no one, you know. Renting a kimono while walking around Kyoto is the thing to do, for sure. We clearly liked this place, even though it felt impossible to not constantly stand in the way of someone taking a picture. Know the word sumimasen if you're going here. You'll use it a lot. It means out of my fucking way. Not all of Kyoto consists of these wonderfully pretty old neighborhoods though, as we found more mixed streets like this one just around the corner from the canal. It's pretty clear that this is not what Kyoto looked like hundreds of years ago, you know. This mix of old and new that Japan in general is so famous for was also leaned into in some of the shops here. Like this one, selling cool banners and prints and stuff. Really old looking exterior, but then sort of like an art gallery with all white on the inside. The designs were also a mix, with geishas decorating a fucking Christmas tree, or skateboarding, you know. I really like this one. And upstairs they had a really cool old samurai looking armor, and they played modern jazz music. This place, like many others, caused Heidi much distress, not knowing what to buy. Kyoto in general though definitely leans into the more traditional, with shops like this one where you had to take off your shoes, and they sold handmade ceramics and bags and stuff. Both Heidi and Katten were struggling with all the nice stuff they wanted to buy, of course. Now, I'm not much of a ceramics kind of guy, you know. I prefer video games, but I must admit this stuff was really nice. And the shop itself was so cool, with beautiful light and low ceilings, very cozy. And the staff were the cutest in Kyoto. Even gave Heidi a little origami crane. Go here. Fuck yeah. And tell them I sent you, you know. Now, while we were looking for a place to have lunch, we happened to find this temple with whatever this is going on outside it. People were crawling through this hole in what looked like a sort of mound made of paper strips. Sort of like a kid's playground, but for adults. I'd heard something about this while we were there, but I didn't remember what it was. But apparently this Yasui Konpiragu shrine has within it enshrined the deity Sutoku, who used to be an emperor, and who apparently was, for whatever reason, forced to part from his favorite consort. Poor guy. The shrine is therefore now famous for removing evil fate that stands in the way of happy relationships. So that's why people are crawling through here. It's a way of praying for good luck, especially regarding leaving bad relationships and entering into new good ones. It's kind of sweet, I think. Having, through lack of cultural chops, missed the golden opportunity to forever rid myself of bad luck in relationships, we found our lunch place. Tokyu Ramen served really cheap vegan ramen, and fuck yes, it was indeed delicious. We really liked this place, not just for the food, but the owners were really nice as well. And my goodness, this was crazy what happened. Okay, so we just had vegan lunch at this ramen place that I filmed up there. And Heidi said that she really liked the poster and asked me to ask the owner if we could buy a poster. And they said no, but the guy who designed the poster lives around the area. So the owners of the ramen shop called up the guy, and we've now met him. He doesn't want to be on camera, and he's just given us a poster. And he's also head of a sort of, not a charity, but a food, how to describe it?
Community
club.
club.
A community club. The organization's mission was to sort of just feed people, but not with the sort of vibe of a charity, but rather as a cookout. And it's a wonderful thing. I'm going to talk more about this later in the video because, goodness, so nice. And look, we got t-shirts as well. Look at this. This is so fucking cool. Ah, it's amazing. He just gave us 3 t-shirts, that thing, and then obviously Heidi got her poster as well. And I don't think he accepted any money for it or anything. And again, he wanted to remain anonymous because he's just a really fucking cool person, not taking any sort of credit for the whole thing. But please, if you want to, you can follow them on Instagram. Those both Tokyu Ramen with a really tasty vegan ramen, and also Good Cat's Ramen Club. Really cool place. So far we had only really skirted the old neighborhood in Kyoto, but at last we decided to head into the insanely well-preserved Gion district. Us and all the other 45 million tourists who had the same idea, you know. It's the most famous area in Kyoto, the one on all the travel brochures, sort of like, you know, Gamla Stan in Stockholm and Resecentralen in Skövde, liksom. As we approached, it started to rain a little bit, but we didn't really mind. We first of all headed into the famous Starbucks, which I mentioned in my last video about Kyoto. It's essentially an old traditional tea house turned into a modern Starbucks. We had a look inside, and although it is undeniably really fucking cool, we decided on another cafe right across the street instead. Now the rain had picked up a bit, and it was very cozy sitting inside watching people with umbrellas pass by. This is undeniably another goodness me moment, on par with Mount Fuji almost, seeing this area in the rain, you know. Locals have understandably been complaining about the amount of tourists, and particularly asshole douchebag tourists, harassing geishas, even running them down, insisting on a picture and stuff. It's gotten so bad that from April this year, certain smaller streets and alleys where the geisha work will be completely off limits for tourists. So please, if you come to this area, don't be an asshole. Most places are happy to let you film inside the shops and stuff, at least most people let me, if you just ask, you know. Suddenly the rain stopped and a man with a Shiba dog on his back appeared, like from a Japanese fucking folktale. It was as if the dog had brought an end to the rain or something. The weather being a bit better, we decided to head to the famous Yasaka Pagoda. And my goodness, on the way things took a turn. Someone must have pissed off the Shiba Inu god or something, because within 2 minutes it went from a tiny little drizzle to full-on apeshit rainstorm. It was really sudden, but we ended up in a tiny little monsoon, kind of. Everyone huddled in under the roofs. It was pretty fun, a sort of communal experience, you know. We were sort of laughing with the other people trapped under the roofs. But then the hail started. Huge fucking ice pellets that would be impressive in Sweden started pelting us. It felt a bit like playing paintball. And thunder on top of this. It wouldn't stop either. I don't remember how the day ended, really. The three of us, while obviously not immune to the charms of old Kyoto, had had enough of old wooden buildings with genuine beauty. So day 2 was all about soulless concrete and modern amenities. Spending of money. Fuck yes. We took the tube, which for whatever reason I really like the underground in Kyoto. More than the one in Tokyo, I don't know. To Kyoto Station. This is where you end up if you come here with the Shinkansen from Tokyo. And it's an incredible building, designed by Hiroshi Hara, apparently. The same architect behind this insane building in Osaka, which I went up, by the way. Check out my Osaka video, yes, precis. The current Kyoto Station building opened in 1997, commemorating the city's 1200th anniversary, apparently. The contest, by the way, for this video is, when did the current Kyoto Station building open? Bonus points as well if you can tell me what anniversary this commemorated. I will pin the first comment that gets the right answer. Understandably, many people were pissed off that this uber-modern building would be built in the middle of the city that is otherwise bursting with cultural heritages. But I like it. I'm a fan of big buildings in general. Leaving the station, I made a terribly pathetic attempt at live commentary. So the modern Kyoto, compared to the old one. Julian, you can do better. Heidi nailed it, as always.
Och nu då?
För mycket av det gamla är inte gott.
We found the day's lunch at this lovely vegan place by the river called Veg Out. 10 out of 5 fishes. So fucking good. Not as good as the Tokyu ramen, but still very nice. And goodness, we didn't waste any time. Just around the corner was the nicest cafe in Kyoto, I'm pretty sure. Murmur Cafe. Another easy 5 out of 5. It was right by a little canal. People had their dogs with them. I fucking love this place. If I lived in Kyoto, I would want to go here all the time. In between having a coffee at Murmur and dinner, I'm afraid I didn't really film much. I know, it's a terribly bad YouTuber, I'm sorry. I did film dinner though, when it came around. We went to an okonomiyaki place called Kamehameha. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama, by the way. That served vegan okonomiyaki. Again, food places in Kyoto were just a joy. All of them. It was so good. This place also, of course, gets 45 out of 5 fishes. Partly because of the lovely staff. I received a couple of Nihongo Jōzus and countered with Eigo Jōzu, you know, as is the way. Being called Kamehameha, they had a bunch of Dragon Ball figurines everywhere. This was in the toilet, I think. This place is right by the Teramachidori shopping street, and I can't recommend it enough. Speaking of shopping, that's what we did for the rest of the night. The final evening here in Kyoto. I left Heidi and Katten in their natural habitats, which is in a second-hand shop, and walked around a little bit on my own. I love Kyoto, for sure. 2 days is definitely not enough for everything there is to do here, and I will be back again, for sure. That was it though for this time. Thanks for watching, everyone. The next one will be the final one from the road trip, so please do subscribe if you haven't already. It'll be out in a week. Yay! Okay, bye!